Good evening, everyone. This is Michael Robbins, and I am here in Phoenix, Arizona, in the headquarters office of the University of the Seven Rays. And that's the place from which this broadcast is occurring. And Tuija is in Finland and tuning in. So we'll be dividing the broadcasts as we go along. With work continuing now in the Ask project, the Ask programs. And this is occurring at 6 a.m. GMT on Saturday the 12th, but here in the United States, for the most part, it is Friday the 11th, Veterans Day, commemorating at first the armistice which called the first phase of the Great War, World War I, to a temporary halt, as the soul and personality continue to oppose each other for supremacy in these modern times. And of course the war continues subjectively. There were already two phases of it, and we seek to prevent a third phase by doing all we can to help the nations of the world evoke their soul qualities, which are unitive, harmonizing, mutually supportive, instead of qualities which are separative and lead to friction and destruction. We have had a process here in the United States which has, I think, global implications, an election. No matter how you see it, and sincere people do see it in two ways, supporting one candidate or another, it is essential that whoever has become president do what he can, in this case Donald Trump, do what he can to help the soul of the nation of the United States, the second-ray soul, emerge. And eventually it will be a second-ray soul of humanity. Now it's a fourth-ray soul tending towards the second ray. Now, whether we like the outcome of this election or not, whether we are relaxed about it or apprehensive, we have to continue subjectively to do what we can do to express the soul qualities of, for Americans, the United States, and for all others, the soul quality of their nation, and for all of us, the soul quality of humanity. Which means that no matter what types of conflicts we enter into, harmony can emerge. So tonight's meditation will be very simple in a sense. We will be working to heal many of the frictions, the wounds which have occurred in this very, very divisive campaign, which surely demonstrated the sixth-rate personality of the United States quite clearly, the partisanship which was involved and still continues after the election. Now that partisanship probably is not going to help anyone if expressed in irrational and violent means. So we, hopefully, being members of the new group of world servers, or at least aspiring to be so, will do what we can subjectively to bring forth the great ray of love and wisdom into this situation, and then inevitably into the consciousness of humanity in a global sense. Our work with the triangles, of course, must continue, and each one of us has our own little triangle network, even if it's simply one triangle that we're working with, or at least we should be working with at least one triangle, I would say, and maybe more, contributing what we can to the sacralization of the Earth, the etheric body of a sacred planet, which Earth is, interestingly, in an interior sense, is composed of triangles and not composed of squares. So we have to bisect the square, esoterically bisect the square, and allow the soul, and souls are sometimes called triangles, to express more easily, more fluidly, more impactfully through the etheric body of our planet. We do all this in the name of the great Lord Maitreya, and let us ponder for a moment on his presence. We are told by the Tibetan that he is aware of every true aspirant to the light. And we must never forget him. In the usual Christian dogma, he was crucified and ascended into heaven in a very remote position where he sits at the right hand of the Father and so forth. There are esoteric meanings to all of that. Certainly he has ascended to the highest plane, potentially, at least, of our cosmic physical plane, but is descending now into the three lower worlds, and really his presence has been there for a long time, supporting all that is positive in humanity and all that tends towards the expression of the hierarchical ideals and objectives, the hierarchy of which he is the head and also the heart. So attuning with the great Lord, we say, "We have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya, be with us." And of course the great Lord is aware of the new group of world servers and this period of the Forerunner, which is meant to prepare humanity's consciousness for the impending externalization of the hierarchy and his own reappearance at such a time that only he and a few trusted high initiates around him know. What is essential is that his quality work through the nations, and especially through the 5 planetary centers, London, Geneva, New York, Tokyo, Darjeeling, 2 great triangles forming there. And if we are aware of the energy to be expressed in the planetary center, which is closest to us and under the influence of which we work, we can be more effective in providing the regeneration, or providing for the regeneration of human consciousness. Basically, whatever ray we're concerned with, it is the great second ray soul of our planet which must be brought forward and expressed. Here we see the image of the 5 planetary centers, and probably all of us know the center with which we are presently working in closest connection. Now in our reflection this evening, or whatever time it is for you, we will tune in on the soul and personality of the United States, since this influential election will have repercussions all over the world. First, the personality ray. It is the 6th ray of devotion and idealism, and how do we see that working out presently? We'll take a few moments of silence to consider that. And we have to realize that even if we are consciously ranged on the side of the soul of the United States, it is still possible to fall under the spell of the emotional, idealistic, and not too broadly seeing 6th ray personality working in relation to the polarizing sign Gemini. Now, we dwell upon the indigo ray, the 2nd ray, the ray of love wisdom, which eventually, with Aquarius, will control the expression of the United States and eventually of all humanity. What qualities do we see potentially working out in the United States so that it can contribute its share of upliftment to humanity and to the world process? the best, of course, of the sixth ray will combine with the second ray and help to fulfill the motto of the United States and of New York as a center for the Western hemispheres. I light the way. Now we think, okay, we are in the midst of an acrimonious situation with narrow idealism contending on both sides, creating a great deal of friction and even violent expressions, demonstrations. We don't have that wider view that would allow us to move on apace and see that the two are really one, and that the different points of view are all part of one more inclusive point of view. So what do we think is necessary under these very fraught circumstances to evoke the second-ray soul of the United States and eventually of humanity as a whole, and of the planet, really, the second-ray soul of the planet? What can we do, each one of us individually and in our groups, to further the emergence of this healing and inclusive and unifying ray? And we try to think specifically of how this ray could work out even in these emotionally divisive circumstances which seem so far away from reconciliation. So we'll enter the silence here and see what our own role can be in bringing a better expression of love, wisdom into the very difficult, contentious situation which still exists as a result of the results of this election. I think we have to learn to understand in greater measure than we criticize and condemn. This soul ray of the United States, and in a way the soul quality, no matter what the ray may be, of the various nations, this soul quality, the second ray, is the ray of loving understanding. Now let us ponder what it might mean if loving understanding were characteristic of more human beings at this difficult time. How would the ray quality of loving understanding contribute to a necessary healing unification clarification that is now demanded if we're not to have real fragmentation, loving understanding. What can each of us do better to promote loving understanding in our difficult national and world situation? It would be a great victory if in greater measure loving understanding could emerge in our lives. We could relate this emergence to the better results expected under the influence of the sign Scorpio. Warrior I am, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. This means that the soul qualities would emerge triumphant over the Hydra-like qualities which drive so many who are still focused in their personalities and have not considered the higher of the pairs of opposites as a reality. So, in the name of the Christ and for His sake, let us succeed in better expressing loving understanding, which will bridge many divisions and heal somewhat, at least, the clash of warring idealisms. And we try to see this loving understanding spread throughout the world. As if the Christ and His hierarchy are etherically centered at the very heart of our globe and radiating out this quality of loving understanding. As we see here, this image depicts this kind of radiation, overcoming the divisions between the duality of light and dark. So the soul ray of the planet, the coming soul ray of humanity, the soul ray of the United States, the great second ray of loving understanding, is as if pouring through us. And all the different opinions, though they may irritate us from our own perspective, we have to understand where they are coming from and why people express them as they do. Loving understanding will heal so many of the divisions brought on by the clash of six-ray idealisms. And the nations of the world will unite in soul. Not immediately, no. It may take a long time in the Aquarian age for this to be accomplished. But every one of these flags, and of course it's just a small sample of the many flags, represents a high ideal. The soul, too, has its idealism, and somehow the flags of nations touches the soul quality of that particular nation and draws it in and down into expression. Now in our attempt to work for the expression of the soul of humanity, at least that harmony emerge out of conflict under the present fourth ray, let us sound that great mantram, which is our surest method of rightly preparing for the reappearance of the Christ. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men, let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Oh. everyday friends, may we use this great invocation in our triangles work as that network grows, but in general, as the Master has told us, when we use it, we cannot help but improve our lives, improve the quality of our lives. The soul is the quality of life. Now we will continue our Ask programs tomorrow. We're experimenting this week with a 6 a.m. GMT. I realize it's rather late for some people in the United States. Could be 1 o'clock in the morning for people out on the East Coast. We'll see how that works. We've been working with 5 a.m., 5 p.m., and in this series of programs we're working with 6 a.m., 6 p.m. GMT. It's not possible to make it convenient for everyone all the time. We have the pre-full moon webinar coming up. You should have received notification, and also the exact full moon broadcasts coming up, which will include the moment of the full moon. Tuya and I are doing the best we can. Usually we work together in the same place. We're trying to assemble the equipment and the know-how to operate when our focus is in other countries simultaneously, namely in this case Finland and the United States. We also have coming up a Foundations of Triangles webinar, about which you should have received notification, and that will be occurring in the early morning GMT of the 15th, after the full moon. And then later in the afternoon, there will be a special broadcast celebrating the final conjunction of Pluto with the star Vega, and generally opposing the star of initiation, Sirius. These are all energies which we want to call upon in order to help humanity with this transition, especially during these final years of the Forerunner, ending in 2025. So now we'll just finish this little reflection. I'll sound the Om, and we'll offer a few more slides for the kinds of activities in which we are engaged and with which we hope to help humanity make an important transition. Thank you, everyone, and of course, all of these activities that you've seen displayed in the slides are invitations for you to join. Whether it's the Blue Rose Sisterhood, invoking the Christ consciousness in all human personalities so that they may be soul infused with the Christ energy, or whether it's joining the intensive study of the Moria Federation, or joining the triangles so close to Master DK's heart. All of these are necessary, and just write us and let us know. If you don't have any other email addresses, you can write me at infinitize8@gmail.com, or you can write Tuija at Tuija, Tuija, period S, period Robbins, Doobies at gmail.com. Okay, many blessings to everyone, and we will continue with our work. And this weekend and following, some important group meditations are coming up. The Scorpio energy is intensifying. Let us use it for spiritual triumph. Many blessings to everyone. Bye for now.